right, today we're in Yuba City with Keith, aka Flying Pez.
How's it going, son?
All right, man, take us away. Tell us more about your Born Free build that, a lot of people miss by looking at photos, but there's a lot of stuff that was involved,
This bike started out as a 1971 Triumph TR6, single carb head, 650. I got this bike when I was 16 or 17 years old. It was a wrecked stock bike. Immediately pulled the engine out of it, pulled it apart, and it sat for, however many years. And then joined the Air Force, got moved to California. My father wanted some room in the garage, so he put it in a Pelican case and mailed it to me. And engine sat as a basket case in that Pelican case for a couple of years. Sold it to a friend of mine. And then he moved to the Midwest. I was on a business trip back to the Midwest. And he was like, hey, man, I'm about to move again. Do you want to buy that back? And I ended up buying it back. And I kind of got volunteered or whatever to build a bike for Born Free 2024. And I'd had this entire bike in my mind. Something just a little bit different than your typical Triumph. The tough guy Harley, tough guy shovel Evo thing was really popular and kind of, being a little bit played out. And I wanted to show that you could do that same formula just in a different platform. And I feel like a lot of the British bikes, I've seen the same fucking build at Born Free for British bikes over and over, and the same one on, Instagram and Facebook groups, and just want to do something different, something that Harley guys would notice and be like, oh man, that's cool. I never would have looked at a Triumph like that. And then have some little nods to little things here and there that Triumph guys or British guys would be like, oh, cool, he's got one of these or one of that, or if they didn't get it, just annoy the shit out of them and have, their, prized possession or, rare parts and then put it to waste on something that they would not understand whatsoever. So something, being like the ARD Magneto, or I have an original MPD finned primary. It's not an MPD, or it's the aftermarket one when it has the two inspection ports. So when they started knocking them off, they put a second inspection port over where the MPD would have been, instead of doing the actual work to clean that out. But one of the big things of this, I put a lot of time into machining the head instead of the carbs coming in at an angle and the exhaust coming out. I wanted to do the later 80s oil and frame Triumphs with the parallel carbs, and the GP style late 40s Triumphs with the exhaust that comes out parallel, just keep it real tight. One of the things was starting with this too, not only because it was one of my longest running projects, but I feel like, at Born Free, Triumphs don't get a ton of love. It's just not what the majority of the populace there is into. And of the people that are into British bikes, they're into pre-units. And of the people that do appreciate the units, 71 is the year that Triumph kind of killed themselves, or kind of put the nail in the coffin. They went to oil and frame. They put all their money into developing a new drum brake when Honda was doing the disc brake and whatnot. And it was just, they didn't progress or develop and whatnot. So I'm a sucker for self-sabotage. So I figured I'd start with a handicap. But one of the things, the design constraints that I wanted was to run fuel through the frame. So fuel tank is molded to the frame, and then comes down, and my petcock is actually between the carbs. Oh, it's wow. A aircraft, fuel valve, whatnot. So it just clicks into place, quarter turn.
What gas tank is this?
So it started as a Mustang tank that I got from Oliver Jones, the cut rate. And I narrowed it and kind of just made it a, completely round, more fitting for what the bike is. And it holds about 2 gallons. So it seems really small, but it's plenty for, riding this thing. The extensions, the insulator blocks, they're made out of Ultem, which is just a high temperature plastic. And when it's running, if you shine a light through it or have sunlight on it, you can actually see the fuel actually pulsing through. It's pretty damn cool. The magneto, to get a little bit more clearance between the pipe, is actually, it's an airplane magneto. The brand is Slick. So I kind of had to modify everything to make that work. Ended up making the cap. I was going to 3D print a new cap for it. Ended up just making my own. And that was one of the 25th hour kind of things that I did on this project. I came down to the wire. One of the reasons why there hasn't been a lot on this bike, and the only photos are from people that were at the show Saturday and Sunday, is because I showed up Saturday morning at midnight. Being active duty Air Force, I got tasking to deploy for 66 days the last week of January of last year, or during the build period. So I ended up spending 2 months of the critical build time, not able to do anything, working on spy planes over in South Korea. So I came back and I took 35 days of leave leading up to the show. And I left for that trip it was gone all February and March, and I hadn't even had a frame built yet. This is my first time, building a frame or anything, but had everything in my head, and just, friends that half understood what I was going for and half just, I'm lucky that they would tolerate me. Especially, my buddy JJ that helped with all the welding. He does it for a living, so the fact that I made this out of chromoly and, that's kind of a little bit more critical. It was a little bit of peace of mind knowing I had his help. And then he helped me with all the laser cutting of the axle plates and whatnot.
What's the total build time, do you know?
Accumulating everything besides the engine happened in about a year. The wheels I got at the Turlock, rather Hanford swap meet that Mike Deutsch puts on. I ended up buying an entire Rokon just to get these wheels, then parted out the rest of it. They're Kim tabs. They're actual Kim tabs, not the remade ones by, I think, Lindell Brakes. They're cast magnesium. But yeah, total build time, I know I have a couple 60-hour days wrapped up in it. I always tell people I watched the sun rise 3 times in one stint of working on it, just making stuff.
What'd you survive on? Red Bull?
Had a buddy bring me a rotisserie chicken and a bag of Red Bulls and Pedialyte, and just, here you go, keep pushing. So I just just had to get it done. Not having the option to not show up or show up with something that wasn't running. Got a little bit of flack for not being there on Thursday when we were supposed to, but I was not able to talk. I was so, in that last 10 days, it was such a fucking push to get it done, that the last couple, I didn't know what time it was. I was just, I had friends here that were just kicking me to keep going. I had a few things. The thing fell over at one point.
Oh, shit.
And it fell over at one point, and I had a can of Lucas assembly oil, and the handlebar just clipped it in such a way that it went slinging the oil across the shop.
Oh, damn.
And a fucking Nickelodeon slime fucking thing. I had red assembly oil go right across the suede on the seat, and my girlfriend made that in-house, first time ever making a seat, and I was destroy anything that I did, but when it's something else that somebody put time into or stressed over or whatnot, I was done. But I ended up finishing it. I got to start it before I even left. That was my big thing. I could have been there a day earlier or whatnot and just all right, here it is. It's not done. It won't run. But that's, that's a sculpture at that point. We build motorcycles, not, they are art, but it's not a fucking, just a visual thing.
Yeah, it has to run.
Yeah. So, it was just something with me, I just couldn't, well, it wouldn't sit right with me if I didn't have it running. So yeah, the front end started as a 32 millimeter Seriani, and I shaved the lower legs. I made the triple trees. They're, I think, let's see, 5.5 inches on center, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 5 inches on center. So they're kind of like Mullins. They're just, even smaller.
These are like baby Mullins.
Yeah. I made the fork caps. I made the fork tubes. I didn't have time to, I talked to Forking by Frank, and by the time I knew how long they needed to be, it was just easier for me to make it myself.
What's the length?
I think it's 5 over stock.
5 over.
Whichever, or 5, it's 5 inches longer than what the front end that I started with was, but I made the top caps, broached the hole and everything. They're actually made out of tail landing gear axle from the jet that I work on, one that was damaged and I repurposed.
The tubes are what, 32, you said?
32 millimeter, yep.
Wow.
The stems, or the stem for the triple tree, the axle for the front and rear wheel, and then my engine mount plates are all titanium. And just kind of was a, one of the things, like, absolutely no need for them to be made out of titanium, but I had weight in mind with this. Like, wasn't trying to make it as light as possible, but the fact that I have ARE aluminum cylinders, they're already like 8 pounds lighter than stock, and then going with the belt drive that's lighter. The magnesium wheels is like, chromoly frame. Might as well just add, some other aspects to it that were lightweight. So did that, and I just did that on my Logan 200 lathe. It's, nothing special. I have kind of fancy tools or whatnot, but nothing, nothing high tech.
What size tubing for the frame?
I think it is 1.125 or 1.25 inches. Let's see. I think it's the same as the front end, actually. Yeah, 1.25 inches. Yep. Oh, wow. So yeah, 1.25 inches. And then my neck's the same. That's actually made the neck out of 2 neck cups welded into the chromoly. It's not one piece.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see how that works out. I've had luck with it in the past, but.
How about the headlight?
Headlight is a Model A stainless, like spotlight. So that was kind of cool. It was already stainless, just had to polish it. Yeah. Then made the bars, the real tight bend, and then kind of made just a smaller version of the standard old STF bar clamp for the adjustable bars. Then the rear fender is actually a front fender off of some old, I think, Honda CB 550, whatnot. So I liked how it had the multiple panels, yeah. And it fit well with the rear wheel. So the spacing's a little bit off, but. And then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for fender struts, or, kind of mentioned it's a unit construction engine, and I wanted the frame and the chassis to be unit construction as well. So fuel tank, the oil tank, and rear fender are all molded into the frame. And I was like I said, wasn't sure how I wanted to do the struts, and I just figured I'd do it strutless. And all I did with that was I welded on the inside another fender. It was like a Sportster front fender. I welded that in, and it's pretty solid. You put weight on it and doesn't, so.
How heavy do you think the bike is?
So when I dropped the frame off with both tanks and the fender welded to it, when I dropped that off to my buddy to do the body work and paint, it was 36 pounds. Each wheel weighs about 10 pounds. And then the engine is about 100 pounds stock. And then having the belt drive and the aluminum cylinders, there's no way the whole bike weighs less than or more than 200 pounds. So it's where the foot controls are and just the way it rides and everything, it's basically the same as sitting on a BMX bike with the low seat, the same as just sitting down, and it's real cramped and whatnot, but it's cool. It's scary. It has a balanced crank. One of the big things with these, guys will tell you, like, they were just statically balanced from the factory. Yeah. So if you actually balance the crank, my buddy AJ Richter Machining, did that. They say that it's super common for people to do a big bore 750 kit on these to get more power. It's just a bolt-on set of cylinders, but you can get the same gain and a smoother running engine by balancing the crank. So it's got a balanced crank and then the larger cylinders. So, for whatever that's worth, Yeah. But I have it geared really high too. I forget exactly what I have, but I know the front sprocket's pretty large, and then a pretty small rear one. And it's geared for highway speed. Just the long, highways out here, long straight stuff. So it's pretty low RPM at speed, but I have everything apart right now because I originally had a hydraulic clutch set up on it, and I just could not I kept having to like re-bleed the slave cylinder and couldn't get it to really work right, so I haven't ridden it a ton. But like I said, it has legs. Like it's not a slouch, but it's all top end kind of. So one of the things I really like is I have the ARD Magneto cam cover, but I'm running an Electrics World stator and ignition system, crank-fired CDI ignition, and I have the voltage regulator that ends up mounting between the two pulleys. And then everybody thinks that this is a oil line or something. I have 5 wires running through there to where the belt would be for the ARD. And then in there I have a battery eliminator and my CDI and stuff, and then just the CDI coil in the Magneto. So I thought that was pretty cool. The fact that shovel head exhaust ports always suck and always strip out, but I did the same thing on this and then safety wired them. Yeah. And then just to narrow, there is literally no performance gain whatsoever by remachining the intake and exhaust ports, all pretty much visual, but it just makes the whole thing look that much slimmer, and it was really important to me.
And it flows better too, in my opinion, compared to the 45 bend.
Yeah, it's just everything's so close, and then just don't really have them on there, but the foot controls, there's how high they are and how they're kind of multi-purposed. This one's the inside also mounts the voltage regulator. Oh, nice. So it's kind of through, and then have the cable operated remote mount rear brake. And then the other side, the shifter goes off of, or the peg goes off of my shifter. It's all one piece. So, I don't know. It's kind of when your shifter and brake and everything are off the engine case, it's kind of hard to do high mids or kind of move stuff around on these. But, so, that was pretty, pretty cool to me. Like a typical Triumph, you have the era would have a single down tube, but it splits right here, and then the engine, the belly of the engine sits down below the frame rails or right at the frame rails. So I wanted it to be up higher. I wanted to do the single down tube, but I wanted to bring the engine up higher. And then the other big thing was I wanted the angle from the neck to the axle plate to be a straight line. But in doing that, keeping the stock rake, in doing that, you get this huge negative space. So having that single down tube, just keep in line with the single down tube, and then the engine sitting on top of it, it brought it up. Just kind of a cool, it just all kind of worked out, like I said, I had a ton of time deployed overseas, thinking about this kind of stuff, and to see it actually work out the way that I was hoping it would. It was pretty cool. And then the exhaust pipes that just match the bend of the frame and everything. And kind of a nod to the frames that Mike from 84 Below does, where I actually have 2 bends in the down tube. So it comes down and then bends slightly here. I think that correct me if I'm wrong, it's the Gerkel frames. They do the same thing, and it kind of mimics a wishbone frame, or the Harley rigids, the factory rigids. It doesn't have that weird negative space down in the front that a lot of the single down tube frames have. Yeah. So, it was just, there's a lot to it. And I mean, I like the fact that I'm not necessarily a British bike guy or Harley guy or, you know, whatnot, but like I can appreciate this and then have the design constraint of starting with something completely different or, you know, kind of wacky. I don't know.
I mean, you did get the best British, right?
It was the best. Yeah, won the trophy for best British bike. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So it was definitely an experience. You know, I built this for the people that would notice, not for people to notice. You know, for bike builders or people that, you know, little nods to things that, you know, I was told that it's kind of the fool's errand, you know, where it's like to put that much effort into something that people won't ever really, you know, notice or care about simply because it is a Triumph, or, you know, not a big twin, or it's not, you know, a Harley. But yeah, I don't know. It was one of those things that, you know, I always make the joke that I have 200 years worth of ideas in my head, and like average male lifespans, like, you know, 75, 80 or something like that. So when I was doing this stuff, like I did certain things and it was almost like the physical weight of that part was like lifted from my shoulders, you know, like knowing that I got that idea out there and put it into the world. Now I can like stop thinking about, you know, these insulator blocks or the intake extensions that made out of Altum, or, you know, running the ignition system the way that I did and then having like no exposed wires or their fuel through the frame, or just put them out there in the world. And now I don't have to, it's yeah, no longer takes up real estate in my mind. But they said I did the show and then needed some time off, needed to get back to work and whatnot. And the thing just kind of sat for a while. And then now I'm just kind of buttoning up some little things. And like I said, go into a cable clutch instead of the hydraulic clutch. And yeah, I don't know.
What made you go with black?
Kind of a time constraint, but also it's like, talked about it before, like it's just, you can't beat it. You know, it's... I
mean, you go for the
just,
tough guy style,
yeah, going
right?
for the tough guy thing. And then like a lot of the stuff on here is like inspired by aircraft, or like aircraft hardware, and like the, you know, multi-function of things, but like all my hardware being 12-point or stainless, and just like the sleekness of stuff, and the jet that I work on being painted black, call it Lockheed Blue. Yeah. Like it seemed fitting, and it just, yeah, let it speak for itself kind of thing, you know. There's a lot of really cool painters or really good, you know, people out there, but like I didn't want it to be, you know, flashy. I just wanted it to be exactly what it is. So the paint job can add to something and really make it, or it can just completely take it away. And black is kind of that safe bet. You know, it's the pad thai of.
And it makes the engine pops out more, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And everything's vapor honed. Got a buddy here in town that, you know, same day turnaround for stuff.
Sick.
Yeah.
I love that service. Same day service too.
Yeah, same day service. And then, like I said, I had buddies come out of the woodwork. A friend of mine, Billy, I just kind of was like, last ditch effort to kind of have some things polished. Asked him like, hey man, you do anything today? And he's like, no, what's up? You need help? And I was like, I need some polishing work. And he came over, he brought his buffer.
Oh, sick.
I had mine, and he just sat here and like, he polished the front end, the forks, the bars, you know, just just a bunch of little stuff. And it was, like I said, the people that came out of the woodworks to help was really cool.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been, like, I'm a firm believer, and it takes a village to do this. I like the idea of like, oh, I built everything myself. I painted it. I did the engine work. I built the frame. You know, that's cool. But like, I think it's cooler to have friends that can help with all that.
You want to give us a little tour of your garage?
Yeah. So I'm real big on storage. Everything's kind of everywhere right now, but if you don't have cabinets like this, you need to get on Marketplace and look for either index filing cabinets where you can pull the trays out and whatnot, or just typical like parts cabinets. If you don't have that, what are you doing? Also, one of the big things that was a huge help on that build, the idea, or got turned on to him from my buddy Alex. Slow Moto is his Instagram. The Milwaukee die grinders. I mean, that's as loud as it is compared to 3 a.m. You have an air compressor and a die grinder going. Like, I wouldn't have been able, my neighbors would have been up my ass if I had, you know, hadn't had those. And then I guess Harbor Freight next month, they're going to be coming out with their Bauer version of the same thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they're any good. The other thing, this Fordham, basically a Dremel tool with a ton more torque. I mean, this is kind of the secret. Like, you know, you see people doing like real intricate, like aluminum shaping or like really like tight blending and whatnot. Like, this is like putting everything on easy mode. It's like putting your truck in 4 low to go crawling up a hill. Like, yeah, they're kind of spendy. You don't need to get the most expensive one, but like that, I don't know. It's for jewelry making and shit like that, but I don't know. That's the fucking trick right there. An estate sale Bridgeport knockoff. You know, I've got play in the table. It's, you know, not the most accurate thing in the world, but it's, you know, keep your eye out. Find a friend that has a cherry picker and a, you know, flatbed trailer, or, you know, something that you can move stuff around. And then, like I said, my Logan 200 series lathe, you can pick those up for a couple $100 or, you know, $1,000, whatnot, sometimes when you're lucky. The other big thing, this knife maker's belt machine.
That's a keyword, huh? Knife belt sander?
Yeah, just like a 72 by 2 inch wide belt machine. I just run it on the foot pedal, but like between that and then the buffer, you've got like, you know, your hard plenum and then all your like soft spots to dig in and like do other blending and shit. Like, if I only had one tool, it would be this and then like the Milwaukee die grinders.
Dang, you got a lot of parts, huh? Swap meet, huh?
Yeah, these are all kind of the, you know, I have them hanging so I remember that I have them. That's smart. It's, I'll buy stuff at a swap meet and be like, oh, cool, yeah, this is a good thing to hold on to and have, and just know that I have, and then I go to put it away where I think it should go, and I find out I have 2 more of them already. But, I mean, today's a perfect example of why that's good. I had the exact main shaft you needed, so, yeah. But, yeah, it's a after-hours shifter with a rose pedal on top, yeah. But,
what you have going on right here? The lowers.
So, I'm not the first to come up with the idea. It was done by somebody in the Bay Area back in the day. But this is the little bit of a secret as to how I'm making octagon-shaped lower legs, doing the flats, and then, yeah, machining it flat, and then...
So if someone want to buy us a pair, just hit you on Instagram?
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram. I'm going to be doing tapered 39 mil here soon, too. I can do 41s for the drum brake style, and then any 35 mil. Typically, I just, if you want to send me yours, I can do them. I can do normal shaved lowers as well. But I do like these. I do split rocker boxes and everything when people really want them. You know, kind of the hobby paying for the hobby in a sense. But I don't know. It's fun. If you have a weird idea, something that, you know, you don't necessarily have the tools or the time or anything like that, like, you know, I like messing around. I like making ideas come to fruition.
But yeah, thank you for showing your garage and your bikes, man.
Yeah, for sure.